Hey, welcome everyone. This is kind of good news that we'd like to hear, and we're ending the month of May. And so let's take a look at a couple things. We've got our trade models here for our Algo Optimizer 17. How did it fare today? Pretty fantastic actually. It's ironic. We use this volume indicator right down here to help confirm trades. We started off this morning with a little scalp winners and had a short, and the market bounced out and scaled out. And then finally this afternoon, it looked like things were coming into play. Look at the momentum of the volume as we were moving lower. It started to dry up, and then, the market went sideways, got into a long, and it stopped out with a profit. But then something dramatic happened right around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The big drop comes with a confirmation of volume decay, and the trade worked out beautifully. So I got to tell you, the settings, we went over this in our live trading room today. We gave out the criteria and the settings for this strategy. This is based off the Person Algo Optimizer, the 17. It allows us to program when we trade, how we trade. It's a quite a formidable product that allows retail traders to maintain the structural signals and system strategies, if you may, as conditions change in the market. So just when I think I know it all, the market proves I don't, and I'm thankful I have something like this behind me. And I know the trade room community was expressly grateful that we had shared these settings this morning before the big crash and caught a big chunk of the action there. Earlier this week, I said, it's time for the euro currency that might come alive, so I reinstilled the 5-minute system back because, quite frankly, the euro currency and Forex, we are at like a historic low volatility, or ATR, meaning every day there's hardly any trading range in this market. And you're looking at the daily trading range. I think today, if I'm not mistaken, the euro currency, what do we have? About 40 points, 26 points. I'll get the information directly for you. The average two range over the last 10 days is 39 points. So every day, 39 pips, if you want to call it that in Forex. We in futures call it points or ticks. Today, the euro currency, you're looking at your screen. It was a brutal day as far as range goes. But we were able to capture the majority of that. And you can see this trade maxes out its holding periods, and not much happened there. All right, let's move forward. A couple things that I wanted to go over today with you guys, besides the crude oil, the euro currency, the system strategies in the VIX, the SPDR, the ES. We can go on forever. But what I wanted to go over, quite frankly, is what we put out yesterday and our stock watch list. So let's get into that. First and foremost, I said TLRY. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, John, you're off your rocker, but I'm stalking this, no pun intended, pot stock. I'm stalking this because I believe that as we've come back now into, well, let's review this green zone of support. Somewhere, I don't know if it's going to be at 41, 38, 37, or maybe it goes to 34. Who knows? I'm not picking the bottom, but I'm stalking this because we definitely are starting to see some volume convergences come into play here in the higher time frame. So what I suggested was for Thinkorswims, and this is Thinkorswim platform, is to go over to my scan, and what you want to do is go over to where it says study, drop down menu, license study, PPS. Now this is the indicator that I developed. It's the person's pivot study. Click on buy signal, and what you can do is simply run their scans, and you can go over to what I like to use is a 15-minute for intraday and then 1 hour. So let's take a look at 1 hour, and we're going to go to not just energy. We're just going to go over here to all S&P. Well, actually, let's just go S&P for right now. You can develop your own trading list, but this will give you scans of how many stocks are generating, not just whatever time frame you want, but momentum reversals or continuation patterns and buy and sell signals. So from a compliance standpoint, we like to say bullish and bearish momentum indicator. Today, at the end of the day, Dollar General, great earnings. Church & Dwight, the maker of baking soda, Xilinx, which is kind of interesting. Crown Castle, which is in the telecom, or Xilinx in the CCI. Crown Castle is in the telecom. It's got real estate investment trust, but Crown Castle, I think, is a SBAC is definitely SBA Communications, the telecom. So that's not really listed correctly, but we have Xilinx popping up, and that's interesting because the semiconductor sector has gotten its butt kicked. But that's not what I wanted to bring into focus today. This video right now, I want to go over a couple things that I put on my watch list. It's the end of the month, and we're going to give you what we see for the end of the month new scans that are populating. These are stocks that I've got on a watch list right here. AT&T, Shutterfly, and if you notice this last chart, and I'll bring it into speed, I'll zoom it up a little bit here for you. You can see it a little bit better. This is Shutterfly's monthly chart. Now you have on-balance volume, and you have our proprietary volume indicator at the bottom. Now this, again, it's a monthly chart, but what I see is, and I will bring this to your into a little bit more focus for us here. And what I see and what I like to look for stocks. Now, you could look at a 200-day moving average. You could look at a 50-day moving average. And by the time markets cross over those moving averages, the market's come and it's gone. But what I like to look at is near-term directional trend and old chart support in the market. And what I want to see is as prices fall down into old support, are they is the momentum of the volume picking up, or is the momentum of the volume losing speed? And in this case, when you see the histogram going up, it shows that the momentum, as stock prices are falling, the momentum of the volume is drying up. So that tells you that it's near a bottom. And guess what? On Shutterfly, we're coming close to a bottom. Look at on-balance volume. It's pointing up. So this is giving us, besides a market that fell right into literally, I don't know, you'd have to call that, 6 years of support. It came right into support, but here's what I like, that buy signal. So this presents us with a low-risk strategy on that particular stock, and that's on my watch list. What else is on my watch list? Well, let me click in. AT&T on my watch list. Why? Because at the end of the month, this is the first time that we've gotten buy signals in the last year and a half. Now, the last two buy signals didn't work, but here's the neat thing. Telecoms, a lot of things have gone by. This has been like dead money to a lot of people. If you've invested in AT&T at any point in time in history and bought rallies, you've been sucking gas because you've not made any money. But I think at this point in time, there's a volume structure change that's telling me this could be the real deal this time. Let's take a look at what I'm reflecting. I'm not going to use on-balance volume because I don't find it as reliable anymore. It's an okay tool. We have our own volume indicator that we've modernized a look at how we identify changes in volume. That's what you see here. Momentum plus changes in volume. And as you can see, it's ironic that as we are launching to the upside with AT&T, it's being supported by positive change in the volume direction. Number one, it's supporting the rally. And number two, the momentum is lifting up in volume. So that's a very strong. The last time we saw that kind of volume was in here. And then again, we got a major lift off. It's been a while. Here's another example where we had the volume trend lift off and the stock took off. So it's about that time. And I like that at this point. Biotech. Now, it's ironic today. Biotech is one that we've been following. We're at the base end of a downdraft, let's call it, in biotech, or a trading range. Now, if you notice here, why is it on my watch list? We had a buy signal right there, and now we had a sell signal, and we had a buy signal, and we had a sell signal. And if you notice, what has the market been doing? It's in a trading range. Now, a lot of people look at this, and I'm taking those two candles because they're equal and opposite off the table. I love this old high, this old area of a lot of interest there. Open closes, lows, highs, and as you can see, we fell right into that spot. There's not many people that like biotech right now. Drug stocks are overpriced. They're politicized right now, but I'm starting to see a sense that this market is coming into support. And when we're in trading ranges, I don't trust monthly signals. Seasonally speaking, biotech starts to rise as we get out of May, June, and into July. There's a bunch of, you'll hear some summertime conferences in the biotech, FDA. Again, a lot of different companies come up for drug reviews. So watch for biotech to support. Hewlett-Packard, HPQ. HPQ is another one. This is one that we spotted and I put out in that tweet, I believe, yesterday afternoon. You're probably thinking this guy's off his rocker. But Hewlett-Packard, why do I like this when everything looks disastrously ugly? It's near quarterly support. It's near old chart support. And the near term, we are seeing a launch, these little shadows here, which are giving us maybe some little buying tails coming into the marketplace. And that's one of the things that I like. Let's take a look at the weekly chart too. So I look at the weekly chart and I go, okay, we had a big sell-off, and here's the big kicker of why I like that. We're against old support. Technology's gotten its butt kick. Hey, you must agree, this stock's gotten its butt kick. Where's the volume in the sell-off? It's non-existent. I think we have a defined risk from against these lows. I'm looking for the market to come back up through the resistance. That's why it's on my watch list. I didn't say I'm buying it today, right? So I need to see that turnaround. TLRY. Let's address TLRY one more time. Again, I didn't say to buy it at 41. I didn't say to buy it at today's price. I said at the very least, we need to watch for 60-minute PPS buy signals. Show me some kind of love. But the fact is, it is coming right back into that green line, which is a quarterly support, A. B, the quarter's over in June. And C, it's coming right into the support of where this thing initially launched after its IPO. So it's testing that level. Is it a buy? Well, I'll tell you what. This is the 60-minute chart. This is the area that I'm looking for. Let's take a look at the intraday volume. Look how far we've come down, and this is what I like to see. These are some of my best setups, volume convergences, but I don't use on-balance volume because it's not trustworthy anymore. If you notice, we have the number 1 point, we have another 2 point. I'm not saying, you could have made money on the short side. I just started to watch this stock right in here. And that's where I said, this is interesting because my momentum indicator, that's what this person histogram is, and my volume indicator is showing that there are, the sell-off is not on strong volume. In other words, if this volume indicator was making a newer low, then I would say, hey, this stuff's going to zero. But it's starting to stabilize, and that's why I'm looking at TLRY as a pot producer. Range Resources and Energy, Microchip, MCHP. This was up today. And in the semis, a lot of people are talking about they're looking for a dead cat bounce because the semis have gotten beat to Dickens with an ugly stick. And that's a fact. I have another stock I want you guys to focus in on in the next couple of days. AMBA, Ambarilla. That's right. Today it generated a PPS buy signal. What I'm waiting for and what I would watch for is a follow-through, not just a one-day buy signal. I want to see if the market not only gets a one-day buy signal, but I want to see the market get slightly above its weekly high. And if that happens, that's going to initiate possibly a move back up to filling the gap here into the 44, 45 range. So that's a quick little trade there in the next week to 10 days. Ambarilla. So spot for that. Finally, all of the energy stocks, Hess, Halliburton, and you can look at the XOP for that matter. Let's take a quick gander. Why would I ever put a recommendation out on something that looks as ugly as this, and why would I be spotting this? Because quite frankly, I have one of the most phenomenal bullish volume convergences in a long time. And once again, I do like, as you can see, this is an old low from 17. Look at where the market's at right now. And I'm not sure if it's going to go to 20, 21, 23, but longer term, it's setting up. So I know you probably realize, yeah, it's cheap, John. I don't need to be a rocket scientist to be a buyer there. But what we want to do is watch that so my money is not in the market hoping and praying. I want to be in the market when it's ready to launch. So if you have longer term stocks that are showing decay in price but on weak volume, that makes them vulnerable for snapbacks, and that's where big money is made. And I like looking for those reversals. What I would first like to see, once again, and I'll bring this to your attention. Here's a great example of where I'm not a big believer in on-balance volume as much as my volume indicator. Here's a look at what I'm referring to. We are starting to see as the stock, and you got to admit, it's not really going anywhere. From 529 to where it is, it's about equal price. It looks ugly, but it didn't really go anywhere. It just means that this rally didn't hold. Now we've got a double bottom. The volume is trending up and the price is moving sideways. That means people aren't selling anymore. The selling pressure, this is starting to reflect that it's drying up. So what do I want to see happen? At least give me, and I'm going to write this out for you, at least give me two 60-minute closes greater than a daily pivot. That's a start. Next, give me a daily close greater than the either daily/weekly pivot point, and that would be right up here, this blue line in the sand. If you get that, XOP should see at least a 15 to 18, I'm expecting a 15 to 18% rise out of XOP. Could it come in the next 30 days? Absolutely. Look where we are, look at the volume action, and tell me, well, is it potentially a double bottom right here? After all, we have a move. We had not much going on. We have a retest. So look at where the volume is. I think if we were to see this market really extend lower, we're going to see more volume come into play. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at the test of the yearly, where we started the whole party from. Maybe we take out the low, but somewhere between 23 and 25 into that zone. If we get follow-through weakness Friday, the last day of the month, if we get more capitulation out at the first of the month of June, and that is not on a downdraft with heavy volume, guys, you got to take a position for what we would be looking at in the refiner section of XOP, number one. Number two, entering the strongest driving season, biggest demand point time of the year, I think that we're going to see a lift to the upside. Now, here's what doesn't make sense. Oil's cheap. Gas is cheap. Refiners aren't making money, is what that chart reflects. What about airlines? Ever flown anywhere? Do you plan to fly anywhere? Bookings are looking at some of the largest amount of traffic in airlines in years. So this summer, a lot of people plan to go somewhere. Here's American Airlines. Ugly as the dickens. These guys aren't making any money. There's a disconnect. Either energy's going to go down forever, but that should be supportive for the airline stocks. So here we are at, quite frankly, one of the lowest levels, and we're not just saying, hey, pick a bottom. What are the conditions of this decline? Once again, look at the momentum of the volume. We're right back to where we were in 2016. There's no real strong volume behind that trend, according to right here, the histogram. That's what I'm referencing. So when we were back down in here, when prices were over here, we are actually at or lower, and volume is higher. So this could be a really strong buying opportunity for a move to the upside. Now, I'm not catching the falling knife. I'm not saying that, but I like to look at value. Two things that I don't want to do. XLU. There's not a chance I want to be buying XLU. Why? I think XLU is getting ready to top out. The momentum starting to show that this rally here, and then also you see on a monthly chart, you can start to see those little peaks, those little shadows, those wicks. You know, you had the same thing back here in 07 before the market fell out of bed as well. Volume started to dry up. You had a bearish divergence in here. Now, I don't have the divergence showing up like we did there. In other words, the histogram component wasn't really moving. The histogram component is higher, but it's starting to show relative weakness. Lastly, TLT. Let's take a look at TLT. Look at this big number, red line in the sand right up here. It's 130, let's call it 132. we have a last conditional change. The reason I'm going segue from utilities to bonds is because they're kind of connected, right? And so what do utility companies do? They issue bonds. So therefore, and it's a regulated industry, right? So here is an old high in the bond market, and that's where we get that gray line in the sand. And we have a pivot level of 131.97. How does the volume structure here look? It's kind of funny. There is no volume. So this is probably a run-up that could be, we get these little blow-offs and then snapback. So I'm telling you, the higher this thing goes, I'm looking for a bigger snapback because the rally is not on terrific volume. So number one, if we start to look at in the next week or so, a market has maybe a little bit follow through, you want to definitely be spotting around that 132, and you want maybe 60 to 90 day out put options, and I would suspect we should get a hell of a correction in the market over the summer. So if any positive news comes out regarding the economy, stability, people are projecting earnings to maybe decay, and I can tell you right now what I think is going to happen is that the second quarter is not as weak as what was prognosticated or what's priced in the market. So we have some great opportunities here. I think if you're patient and you follow along, the volume, and wait for triggers, and that's the key. Wait for triggers in the market. That's going to help you out. That's all I have for tonight. This is a little intra-week before the end of the month wrap-up, and I just wanted to go through exactly what I'm looking at and why. I hope you find this helpful. Take care, and we'll see you on the next YouTube video.